Hai. Manheru akanaka nditete Gire. Ndauya sori musesvondo. Pakapresa. Zviri kuoma kwatete Gire uku. Mwoyo waida chaizvo kuti ndiuye musesvondo asi ndakatadza. Ruregerero wei. Nhasi ndiripo inyaya yekuti gumbo rinenge ziso 1 negumbo 1 zvesaidi 1 zvimwe zvesirapa zvimwe zviri kutofunga shift so. Nokuti zvandaitaura zviya zvakuda kuitika zvatetegere saka presha yacho iri hard shamwari dzangu. Saka kutodai kutoti mwoyo wese unenge uchida chaizvo kuuya ndada kutomboridza kajaipraza kanoti musikana akanaka waindoita seko. Nhasi ndiri kuda kutaura I think makaiona mese. Pane vhidhiyo yakatenderera so yemurungu so ari kudetembera nekunaka kweZimbabwe zvamusingatoiti mimi shuwa. Vamwe venyu vana vacho havatombozivi nezvaachitaura nemuvhetu. Isusu vanhu vacho hatina nguva yekuti timbotiwo nyika yedu iyi tine sisime kungotaura zviri negative. Ndakanzwa manyukunyuku ndichinzwa mwana womurengezi murungu. Achitaura nezve achitaura nezveZimbabwe, chikafu, achitaura everything. Ndakanzwa kuti izvo nyangwe nezvimwe zvaitotaura zvakutoendawo zvichibuda vedu we, but ndakabatikana ndikanzwa mwoyo wangu kuti zvishuwa ndokuzoenda apa. Ndiri kuzotaura nezvekuti itsika dzedu neunhu hwedu humwe hunoita kuti tinzi tiri apa. Handiti dzamuri kuda kuramba dzacho tsika idzodzo ndo dzimwe dzekutisa pamaplatform ekuti vanzi vanhu vekuZimbabwe vane mwoyo wakanaka. Vanhu vekuZimbabwe vakadzi vavo vanoita kurayirwa kuya kwamaitana natete kudaizvi. Kurayirwa natete zvino anatete vacho makutita extinct hachambokwanisi kana kuti mwana wanzvadzi titaure naye anoenda on Google. Isusu tatovhatekwa naGoogle. Google yatove ndiyo tete vevazukuru vedu vana vehanzvadzi avashuwa watoenda kuGoogle ukagugula everything is on Google, you learn from there. Tipei basa racho isu tichiri vapenyu. Why would you want to go kwaGoogle uko? Moenda kwaGoogle sei isusu tiri pana? Ndo basa ranatete. Saka regai nditoplaya zvangu ndimboda zvokutaura ndangoita zvangu zvemavhidhiyo angu iwayaya. Regai ndiachinjanise ndiise pazasi. Handizina toona babawe. All right. I think ndikadaro so ndoenda kwairi vhidhiyo yacho ikaimbonetsvaga so kumusoro uku ndiite play. Mumunzwe mwana womurungushu achitaura nezveZimbabwe. Amai mwana kana neni ndakambananzwa manyukunyuku ekuti ndobva kunyika iri right. Ndobva kuZim. I'm proud of being Zimbabwean. Ndichinzwa mwana womurungu achitaura nezveZimbabwe. Ko zvaisiri kunzwika. Sisi Gire.
Always exceptions. There's always rude people, and there's always people wherever you go in this world that will, not be polite. But as a whole, like the country is friendly, and they smile more than I was used to. It was fantastic to see. If you ever go into a house, it's just culture that they offer you something to eat. When you talk about the women, is what we call the mamas, if they are moms. So like this mama here, which writing home is always funny to say, because my mother goes, "What are you talking about? I'm your mother." Like, well, sorry, mom. This mama, they do adopt you, basically. They treat you like their sons, and they'll call you their sons. They'll say, "My son, come here," and for me, I love that. It made me feel so welcome and loved. I felt like I belonged, when people would say things like that. And they would discipline me like a mother would as well. When I do something wrong, they tell me. They're very straightforward with that, which is so entertaining when it's not me. When it would be my companion getting scolded, I'd sit there like, you should have known better, elder. Now your mom is going to be angry with you. When you go to a funeral, it's tradition, I guess, for everybody to come and the family provides food for everybody. I guess it would be normally like in the village, but here it would be like anybody in the neighborhood would come in and we'd be fed and sing songs, and they would talk about the life of the person. And while it was mournful, it was also an occasion to be together, and it it was a very unified feeling. So I guess overall, I would say Zimbabweans are very good at remembering that we all come from smaller groups. You know, whether it be a tribe or a village or anything like that. It's unified. We are a family. The classic Zimbabwean dish, I would assume most people would agree, is sadza and chicken relish and vegetables. So sadza is basically the staple diet because they grow lots of corn there. They call it maize. Not that big of a stretch. But then they have grinding mills where you take your dried maize, grind it into flour, and so then you have lots of what's called milli meal. And you take that, you boil it, you stir it up, and it becomes basically a big paste. And some people like it really hard, some people like it really soft. But regardless, when you eat it, you are putting your fingers into burning hot lava. Oh, yep. And so you got to be careful when you're first starting. Every green missionary burns his fingers, I think, at least a little bit, because they do not know. So basically, you take that, and it's basically I'm saying basically a lot. You're taking something the consistency of Play-Doh, and you take it, and you can make it into either a ball or into a little scoop, and then you scoop up some gravy, which has pieces of meat or vegetables, and you take that and you eat that, and it's absolutely delicious. The first time you have it, it's the strangest experience, but eventually you grow to love it. And then they have some sort of meat, and almost always chicken, and they know how to fry chicken there. It's not Kentucky chicken, it's not Southern fried chicken, but it is a really tasty way that they do it. And then there's a thing called kovu, which is a vegetable that grows in a stalk out of the ground. You'll see it being grown in every single person's garden. And as the leaves come off, they just pluck the leaves, and then it continues to grow up and up. So it starts off, on the ground, and eventually it'll be this tall, and it'll just have a bare stalk with like 5 or 6 leaves at the top that they'll pick. And they chop it and fry that. So you use the sadza to basically dip it and pick up vegetables or relish and the meat and eat that. And when I say relish, I don't mean what they put on hot dogs here. I mean, relish is basically any meat or gravy that they have with the food. So that's your basic meal. Sometimes people will like kapenta. And kapenta is these little tiny dried fish that I never really enjoyed. I ate it, and I always was very grateful when someone offered it to me. And I don't know, but I guess you compare that to the chicken, and I definitely had my preference. I think the hardest part about kapenta was knowing that they had eyes that are looking at me, but it was great. And I was offered rabbit many times, and guinea pig once or twice. The most extreme ones, one was makrimbi or madora, which is the caterpillars. And so these caterpillars grow by the thousands on some of these trees, and they call them mupani worms as well. And they'll fry those up, and you'll eat those just like you would with the chicken. And I remember the first time I had those, I pick one up out of the bowl, and I'm looking at it, and I'm just going, "You are ugly. I'm going to eat you." But so I pop it in, and once you try and forget what it is that's in your mouth, it's delicious. It's just the face is what got me. And there's something called ishwa, which is these flying termites that during a certain time of the year, kids will stand around these little termite holes, and they'll cover them because termites will come out at night. And so if you cover it, they think it's nighttime because the daylight's no longer shining down. And so then they'll start crawling out by the hundreds, and the flying ones are the ones you want to eat. The ones that are on the ground have angry little pincers that they hurt. And I didn't know that. And I was trying to pick them up, and the kids were like, no, Marugo, no. And, I got pricked pretty good. Those things do not let go. And so they'll grab the termites out of the air. Sometimes they'll pull off the wings, and they'll stick them in a bag, and they'll fry those up and eat those. Or you can just eat it right out of the air if you want, which I did because the kids are like, do it. So I was like, okay. So that was good. Zimbabweans like to eat parts of the chicken that we're not used to, like chicken feet and chicken neck. While it does take some getting used to, it is very edible and it's very tasty. Once you've gotten over your preconceived notions of saying feet, but they're pretty good. Rice is another big one. Rice and beans, basically anything that comes in big bulk bags and can be they come up with really creative ways to eat it as well. The biscuits there, the cookies they call biscuits are, you can buy really nice ones, and then you can buy the really bulk bags that are basically like, just flavor on flour. And I actually bought those all the time because it was something I would just sit there and study with. The food that, man, now I'm really hungry. I miss that food really badly. One of the drinks there is called mazoi, and it's fantastic because it's basically just syrup that you're supposed to dilute, which I did not know. And so my companion's like, hey, pour yourself a glass of mazoi and pour me some as well. I went, sure. And I went to the kitchen, and I'm brand new. Pour us both a glass, and go back in, and he grabs it and he looks at it and he knows what I just did, and he just looks at me and he watches me as I take it, and I take a sip, and 5 times the amount of concentration that I should be getting of sugar, and my brain just exploded, and I spit it out. I'm like, I swear I could smell colors at that point. And and he laughs and he's like, you're supposed to dilute it. Yeah, now you tell me. But occasionally you'll start craving that stuff once again. So it's good. I miss the Zimbabwe food a lot. Getting food is pretty cool because lots of people are entrepreneurs, and so they'll have little stands outside their houses or on the street somewhere. So if you ever need fresh tomatoes or fresh vegetables, they're right there. Like a lot of the time we'll just poke our head out the window to a little kid that knows us, and we're like, hey, and we'll give them $1, like, go get us some tomatoes, and they'll run and they'll grab you some tomatoes and they'll bring them back, because kids are used to their moms having them do that all the time. So it's really fun. You feel really important. Like, hey kid, little one, and they're like, yes, and they run and they get you something, and then if you're nice, you'll give them a sweet or something like that. So living in Zimbabwe, one of the places I lived for about 7 months was in what used to be the servants' quarters of a much bigger house. So we lived in the little side apartments, kind of like a shack on the outskirts. It had like a small bathroom, and it had a kitchen and a bedroom, and that's all you need. The flooring there, carpets are not that popular just because vacuums aren't that big of a thing there. Electricity and water will come and go very frequently, and so you can't really rely on that. So most of the time people just sweep, and so carpets aren't really that common of a thing. So what they'll do is they'll apply this stuff called Cobra, which is like kind of a floor wax that if you sit on it too soon after applying it, you will get nice red streaks on your pants that I laughed at my companion several times when he was new, because he didn't know better. Because water and electricity come and go, most of us would store bottles of water all around the house, so that if water goes for a few days, then we'd still be able to drink. We'd probably do really poor excuses of bucket baths.
Really,
although bucket baths can be the best. If you have water but you don't have electricity, you take the cold water and you put it you boil some of it on the gas stoves that we had, and then you pour it in with some cold water, so you make it nice and a good temperature for you, and then you just go into the shower, you get a cup, and you just splash it on yourself, rinse it out. It's actually not nearly as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. I thought about that going, I've been spoiled with my showers at home, like my nice big water heater, and then transportation, like into your area or into town. They have these things called conveys, and it's basically like, I think of the equivalent of a VW bus. Like you'll have the hippies used to have here in like the 60s and whatnot, or my dad used to have. And you fit 25 to maybe 28 people, you cram them into one of those vans. And there it's interesting because you've got like 4 to a row that's maybe like that wide.
Yes.
And so if you're getting in there and then you see this large person come in, you go, uh-oh, it's going to get tight in here real quick. If you're claustrophobic, it takes a little while to get used to. And if otherwise, it's a ton of fun. And the combi drivers will just drive around and they'll be yelling what their destination is. So they'll be like, towny town, downtown. And so you'll wave them in and they'll come and they'll pick you up, and you give them the money for how far I guess you're going to go.
Yeah.
And then you'll jump in there, and it's really competitive. And then you go in there and there's just this hub of hundreds of these bands just all yelling, saying, "This is going to Ntumbani and Soxile Bulawayo." So it was really cool. Hard part about that is when you go shopping, and then you have to take all your food, and you basically you can't buy too much at a time because you have to transport that back on the combi where there's already no room, and take that all the way back to your apartment. Then they use American dollars there now, with inflation and everything that went. Zimbabwe had a hard time with currency for a while, so now they use American dollars and South African rand, and they'll use pula from Botswana or anything that they know what the exchange rate is, and you can use that for money. But because bills are a lot easier to transport than coins, because those are really heavy, you don't really get change very often unless it's in South African rand. So a lot of the time you'll buy something and then you'll get lollipops or candy in change. So you always have a few lollipops in your backpack. But if you're ever buying something on the market, you have to barter down, because you have to realize they're working in a marketplace. They know they're gonna try and get what they can. I bought something one time and my companion looked at me and he just goes, "You paid about 4 times what you should have paid for that." Bummer. So that's how it goes. It is a former British colony. It was called Rhodesia. It's similar to British accents, but it's definitely its own version because it's a combination of African accent and English. And so let's see if I can still do this. It would, when I would meet people, they're like, "Elder, how are you today?" Like, "Oh, I'm fine, sister. How are you?" "Oh, it is so good to see you." Coming from North Carolina, I didn't quite talk like this, but I would speak, and my words would run together sometimes, and it was just a simple Southern American accent. So going there, no one would be able to understand me because I would speak too quickly in that accent, and so I had to learn to stop and enunciate all of my syllables. And this is how I spoke for 2 years, to the point when I called home for Christmas and my family goes, "What is wrong with the way you're speaking?" And I went, what are you talking about? "You're talking like this." Well, I had to, because that was the only way that I could be understood. I guess when you meet people on the street, you go, "Hi, how are you?" And they say, "I'm fine, how are you?" And so lots of kids, when they see you on the street, all they've been taught to say is, "How are you?" and "I'm fine." So they'll follow you for 20 minutes. "How are you? How are you? How are you?" And you go, "I'm fine." "How are you?" "I'm fine." "I'm fine. How are you?" Okay, all right, this is not getting anywhere, but it's entertaining to see them do that. Sometimes it's frustrating, but most of the time it's entertaining. The accent for Shona is fantastic as well. That's pretty much the main language of Zimbabwe. Most people are Shona, with one big city, Bulawayo, being Ndebele, and they speak that, and so Shona is the main language for most of the people. They'd say, "How are you?" So they say "Makadi." And you clap your hands in this way as a sign of respect. And so "Makadi," which is "How are you?" And you say "Tiribo," which is I'm fine. I think I might be mixing languages. Let me think. This is going to be bad. People are going to make fun of me. But people will say "shop shop," which is sharp sharp, but because of the accent, it sounds like SHOP. It just means like cool cool. Ndebele, the other language, I remember a little bit better just because I was really passionate about learning that one because it was fun for me to speak. And so you say "Salibonani," which is, how are you? And you say "Yebo." Yebo is yes. But you say "Yebo" for a lot of different things. You say yes to they say hello and you go yes. So "Salibonani, Yebo unjani baba." You go "Niapilo unjani mama," and and you can saying I'm fine, how are you? And occasionally if you're speaking to someone respectful, you change it up, and you say it in a more I guess appropriate way. "My tabasa" in Shona, I think, is probably one of the coolest ways to say thank you. In Malawi Chichewa, you say "Zikomo," which I think is also really cool. The fun things about Ndebele is there's some words that click. I was asking them to teach me, and they say, "Okay, say "Kumukatu get ukatu." I go, "What?" They say "Kumukatu get ukatu." I'm like, okay, how about po po po. I'm like, no. And so it's a lot of fun. It's hard to get used to. You have to learn that when it's written down, Q is, and X is, and C is, and even within there's like different ways of saying those. And another syllable is hl. It's HL, so it's hlope. So you're like, I'm hlope, and it sounds like you got a lot of spit, in the side of your mouth. And usually they love it. And they go, look at this Marungu, speaking
Murungu. Hey,
Shona,
Muzungu,
or
even
look
me,
at this
I'm
Kiwa.
impressed, man.
And so it was a lot of fun. I
I'm
love
impressed
speaking
by
those
you,
languages.
boy.
Eventually, when you get so into it that your accent starts to disappear and you're speaking theirs, they love it even more. Yeah, I loved Shona and Debele, Chewa. No, they were fun to speak. The first thing I would want to say is just how much I miss being around all of the amazing people that I did meet when I was in Zimbabwe and Malawi.
Yeah. I'm impressed by
I
this
honestly
guy.
left
Honestly.
for my mission as a boy, and all of you took care of me and strengthened me and made me into
Come on, guys, let's give a round of applause to this guy,
a better man. I think about the people, you guys that I met every single day, the ones that watched me struggle with learning how to say Maitabasa and Salibonani and Zekomo, and just watched me go from Elder Skoro and Elder Ski and Elder S and all the little nicknames you guys had. And
Muzungu, Murungu, urikuziva Zimbabwe kupfuura isu.
I love
Vana
you
venyu
guys so
havatozivi
much, and
anything.
I think
I
about
think
you, and I
this
pray
video
about you
muiplay
often. I
mudzimba
pray that one day soon I'll
vana
be
venyu
able to come
vadzidze
back
from this guy.
and
Proud of
see how
somebody
you're doing in your
heritage,
lives.
sure.
But until then, I just have to hope that
Proud of you
my
as a
information
people.
from Facebook
You are not proud of yourself. I'm so
and
disappointed in you
from phone
guys.
calls every now and then are going to be enough. I called many of you my babas and my mamas, and that's true. You are my family. You're my parents. You're my brothers and sisters.
I'm telling
and
you, I'm so touched.
I was happiest in my life when I was with you. So know that I love you and I miss you.
Thank you so much. Hey. Mamunzwa kamwana womurungu adetemba ataura shuwa ataura nekukurumbidzai maZimbabweans. Here you are running away from your culture. Muchiti vana venyu, they don't have to learn that. Mwe munhu ari proud of our culture. Really? Someone else is flying our flag, telling the world how good we are, telling the world kuti tine hunhu hwakaita sei, but hunhu hwacho ndo hwamuri kuramba. Saka ndiudze kuti mangwana, what will the people say when they visit Zimbabwe? Musisipo imimi makateerera vana gogo vachikurayirai muchine that upbringing ine mavalues atikakura nawo. Ndiwo aya ari kutaurwa apa. I don't think vakaona masalala enyu vana wo vasingadi kana kuziva kuti where they come from, would they even sit achitaura nezvehospitality yemaZimbabweans diluted, ari kutora culture siri yavo and trying to pass it on as theirs, vachisiya culture yavo iri rich. This guy is trying to remind you kuti where you come from people. Handiti ndo zvatotaura anobva kuvanhu. Vana venyu handizetu vachanzi vanobva kuchii, because I don't know kuti vanobva kuvanhu. Which people? Who are your people? Which people? Vapi vanhu? Look at this guy. He went on to talk about the food. He talked even the language, which vana venyu vamwe havatotauri even malanguage iwayo. Even kumhorosa vana venyu havatozivi kuti unomhorosa uchiti chii. Hezvo mwana womurungu akaenda akanogara. I'm not even born of it. He went there as a boy. Hanzi, I thank you are with me. Inzwai kwakupesira akutendai akati I felt ndaive nevanhu vangu. Tete Gire is just here to keep on reminding you kuti we have a rich culture admired by many. Even chirungu chamunoti hey chirungu. Iye zvino iye anotaura kuti we've got beautiful language as well. iyoyo shona ndebele yamusikati nqwaxaxa yamusikati iyayedzesera kutaura he is willing to learn that imi hamusi willing. Surely I'm disappointed each and every day when I hear people nyangwe vari kumusha. It's not even a surprise kuti vanhu vekumusha vaitova vadokwairirawo vachikura vari mulocation. Ndikaenda kugara kusuburb ini ndienda kuita zvechirungu ende vakuita zvechirungu ichocho ndogara musuburb. Vokuti mwana wangu 4 years mwana ari kuZimbabwe makamuona mwana uya breathes hanzi I breathe English, I dream English. I speak English. Vakandipedza mafuta baba yavo kundipedza kuti pe akaregwa kundipedza chaiko kuti surely murume mukuru ari kupembedza kuti mwana wake anga svataura English kana kuti Chinese. Hanzi ignorance. My people are dying because of lack of knowledge. God said so. Achema chemba nekudemba nevanhu vake. Yes, tiri kutochemawo. Ndoda kuunza ine yakanzi the beauty. Nayi ndinongotarisa ava ndevekuCameroon. You hear vana vari kustates. This is diaspora language. Ava ndokuAmerica. Vari kuAmerica maCameroonians. So I want you to listen to them. Muone kuti ndimi vanhu vese they feel like they want to belong somewhere. Imimi you want to belong to something, not somewhere.
A special guest.
Okay.
Welcome to the show.
I wanted to hear this one as well. Uyu muCameroonian vari kuAmerica. She went to America.
And where you're from?
So my name is.
They are both from Cameroon actually.
I'm originally from Cameroon, the north.
But different areas of Cameroon.
My village. And so
Is it clear?
I am an Anglophone.
Okay, that's very nice. I am from Cameroon too, from the southwest. I'm Bakosi, proudly so.
Yes.
And it is
The
good
beauty
to be
of
here.
culture.
How are you doing today?
That we are now the beauty of African culture,
I'm doing
not
great.
just
It's getting
culture.
cold, so it's my favorite kind of weather.
yeah.
So I'm doing fine, thank you.
Nice. It's the winter again.
Okay.
So you did mention that you are from Bafanji. Can you tell us a little bit about the culture of the people from Bafanji?
Yeah, so Bafanji is a really small part of the Northwest region. We have not really been growing since 1992, where we were burned down by a neighboring village. We had some crisis going on and it hasn't really been addressed. However, it's a very beautiful place. The people are beautiful, the people are kind, the people are nice, and our soils are fertile. So it's an agricultural part of the Northwest region.
Oh, that's really nice. I mean, you are evidence that the people are really beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, so looking at the fact that you came from Cameroon, can you talk to us a little bit about how what it felt like to immigrate to an entirely different culture?
Sure. So I've been here since 2010. A lot of things have changed since I've been here. The biggest thing I would
Vari
say
kuAmerica.
is there's more information out there.
Okay.
So before I came here, I'd say young and naive. I didn't really look into things. So we were applying for schools like blindly. We didn't really know where and what the schools were about or what we could do with the certificates we got from there. I was lucky, however, that my husband was already here. I had a big family here that kind of guided my orientation to what I am doing right now.
Okay, that's really good. What can you tell our audience today, like people who are planning on moving from Cameroon or Africa in general to the US? What kind of advice can you give to them?
I would say to do research and also to weigh their options. So I know that we come from Cameroon where there's really no employment for the youths, so there's really nothing for people to do. So most people want to immigrate out. That's great. For those people that have nothing to do, immigrating out is it's good. It's a good option. However, I've seen and know people that had thriving businesses back home and got like the DV lottery and moved their families and are struggling here. So my advice would be to do research before immigrating, to weigh your options, because life overseas is difficult. You have to work really, really hard before you get comfortable. America is not like what we thought it was when we were growing up, knowing that everything was beautiful, it was a land of milk and honey. It's true. We have all these opportunities out here. My biggest advice would be come, immigrate, but be ready to work hard. There are no shortcuts. If you want to succeed in the United States, you have to be a hard worker, you have to be honest, and you have to work really, really hard, do research, and always ask questions.
Okay. Well, you make the United States sound so good. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad, but my question is, do you ever plan on going back home? Because I know people battle with the idea of staying here forever or going back and settling back home. Is that what are your thoughts about that that confusion? Like, do I stay or do I go?
So for me, it's kind of something that I've talked about with my family, and we're all on the same page. So I'm glad that you asked me about where I'm from, because in my village in Cameroon, in Bafanji, we have one health clinic, and the health clinic is so like underdeveloped, like where we don't have even like hand washing sinks in the units. So for me, for a dream realization for me would be to go home and open a clinic. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 6 years, going on 7 years. I work in critical care right now. I'm hoping that with my experience that I have, and with some other nurses that are willing to go back home, that we go home and establish, even if it's clinics, to where we can better serve our communities. Like I tell my patients all the time, it's like, you don't really need me because there's so many good nurses here. But in my country where I come from, we have good nurses, but we don't have the resources that we need. So I feel like me going back in 10 years, I'm praying about it, that I'm able to go back home and establish something that would better serve my village.
Which is actually great, you know. Um that's the whole idea. I feel like that's what we should be doing. Yes, I know there's so much instability back home in many African countries, and people feel the need to leave. But I've always felt like we are lacking in the department of people going back and building the home because, like they say, if the builder does not build the house, there's no house to
Yes,
be
that's
built.
true.
So it's a good thing we are starting to talk about things like this because I feel like people need the right orientation.
True.
We don't just wake up, go to the embassy, get the visa, and then you
Right.
find yourself in a foreign country and you get hit by what the hell am I doing?
Right.
You know? So
Right.
I'm very happy that you intend to go back. And I hope people who are watching get to realize that yes, the dream is to travel, but the dream is a dream. The reality is so,
It's
so different.
different. Right.
Now, you did mention that you are hoping to go make things better for the people of your village. What do you think about the entire Africa as a whole? Do you think there are certain things we need to do to make us a stronger and better people?
I think so, yes. Because what I realize, I always say in my lifetime, they say you're young, but no, I realize that in the 30 something years I've been alive, I realize that we as people, African people, we don't really trust each other. I feel like we would do
Amen.
better things if we trusted each other more and leaned on each other more. Say, for example, I would love to open a clinic back home. But I sit and think about like who's gonna be willing to do this with me. I can't really see or like point, oh, so and so person can do this with me. So I feel like generally, and it's something that has just resonated with even my coworkers that are also Africans, there's not that connect. I feel like if we look at it as building a community, a stronger community together, unlike thinking about I can do this on my own. I know I can't do it on my own. I need help. So as a community, I feel like we need to be able to ask for help and also be willing to give help if we can. So I think a lot of education has to go into place. A lot of enlightenment needs to be done. A lot of like outreach because like I said, my village is so poor. It's really poor. Like we still have wells where we get water from. You're drinking water, you see that the water is dirty. Like every time I went to the village before I came here, it's like the living condition there is like how do people survive?
Yeah, and we are in 2021. That should not be happening.
Right. And then,
Definitely.
yeah, with the crisis, it's made it worse. Like it set us back another 10 years, right? I feel like working together to better, like, I know you're from the Southwest region. I know that you all have it better than some of us in the Northwest region. I should be able to come to you and be like, hey, Nane, I'll have this project that I want to do back home in my village. I want you to be open to helping me. Like, even us not being from the same place, like how they call us like Graphi people. I want it to be like a African thing. I want it to be like a Cameroonian thing. I want it to be like a humanity thing.
Yeah. And
So-
which makes sense. I mean, you mentioning that we call you Graphi, it's funny because people get offended when people do that. But what we don't realize is Graphi is short for grassfield. Now, the people from the Northwest are grassfield people, but you mentioning that it's currently there's a crisis going on in Cameroon. And the reason why we're not, I don't know if that's the reason why we're not moving forward, but we always find ourselves in the situations where we say, oh, this
There's
one
a
is
divide.
Graphi, I
Yes.
don't, this one is Bamileke.
Yes.
And I feel like we are sectioning out our history because it didn't used to be like that.
Right.
But
Vanamai,
then
vanamai
again, it's a
mukuzona,
good
vanamai
thing that
kushinga
we are starting to
mishande
talk about these things because,
These
like
guys
you
are in
said, we need to
America.
look at
I hope
ourselves
pane
as
vabatwa
humans.
batwa
We need to
vekumusha
look
kwedu
at
kuti
ourselves
tidzokere
as Africans. We need
nematools
to look
atinawo
at ourselves
tinodhivhelopa
as Black people.
kwatakabva.
That's who we are.
You know,
We don't.
come
Yes,
together
we
as
have
a
55 different
communities.
countries. We have different cultures,
tichibatsirana nevamwe
but
nyange
in
usiri
its
kuenda
entirety, we
uri
are one
mudiaspora, you
people.
can help from
And if
wherever
we
you
start
are.
acting like that, I feel like Africa
Kuti
is going to
tisimudzire kwedu
develop
kumusha
faster
misha
than
yedu
people
yatikasiya
anticipate
mamunzwa
because
uyo
the only
they
problem
know
we
kuti
have
vakabva
right
kuri
now
poor,
is because we're not working together.
but you know people
But
are to work
I would
together.
like to thank you so much for coming on the
That
show
is really nice.
and throwing these really brilliant ideas out there. I do hope you can come back sometime soon
I would love
because
to.
there is so much we need to talk about. Thank you all. Please do not forget to drop your comments.
Okay. African culture, the beauty of African culture. Tiri muno, yes, tiri muno tiri kusenza, yes, tichita mari kune a lot of things we get used to. Takatojaira kamuka lifestyle vazhinji medu tagara kamuno handiti for years now. And unenge wajairira, 20 years it's not a joke, or 30 years it's not a joke uchigara different lifestyle yakatanga kuadapta uchisvika muno paukasvikira pacho. Tese takabva muno tikasvikojairira kalifestyle ikako, and every time you go kumusha unenge wakucompare the two worlds dzaunogara kuno kunoona kuti sure uko kwokuti unorara ziso rakashama kudai nokuti hauzivi anogogodza usiku, but you know what, tinotengeswa nenyasha even wherever you are, kungave kuno kune maproblems ako, but yes tichida kucompare nemabasic problems chaiwo unoona kuti yes ataura kuti kumusha it's poor, and nenyaya yepandemic it has drawn macountries edu even 10 years back kunge takutoenda kumiddle age, middle ages, isambeita tomova, so it's a way yekuti tispringe back from where patikadonhera below scale at 0 takutotanga maybe dzimwe nyika dziri kuma3 dzimwe dziri kuma7 idzi nyika dzedzemawestern world maybe kuma8 isusu tato maybe further down, but that should not stop us. Ani mazvona isaka yakuno kudiaspora, let's try and see kuti vanoda vari kunzwa kunatsoda kudzokera muchationa kuti what can we do, ndo zvatataura kuti we need also kuramba tichiita nezveculture yedu, not to forget about it. Malanguages ngatitaure mutauro yedu kuitira kuti tinapiramba tiri associated or be, sort of like touched, joined with what we are, nokuti ndo zvimwe zvinhu zvarasika zvokuti mutauro nekumusha kwacho vanhu vangofunga kuti chirungu ndo kushamisira. It's something mentality colonization, inoramba kuti tirambe tisingadi kubvapo, whether munhu azvarwa izvino 400 after slave trade yakapera necolonization yakapera usemedu it's 40 years, we are still tichirimo here, kunge tichakangobatanidzwa negashu riya ramba uchingofamba muchindenderedzana. You can't even separate yourself from that and say I'm free, trying to convince yourself that I'm a free person, I'm free, I think tongonyepera kuti I'm free in words, but tisiri. But anyway, on a lighter note, ndakadichita nandichiita maresearch angu apa ndichita, somebody sent me kalitu clip kaitaura kuti kanotaura nezve the best 10 best African countries to find a wife, and you know what, we topped 2 or 3 times takatopa Zimbabwe is number 1. And ndakati because of how we were raised, your culture yamuda kutiza. I'm always like ndikura manaka zembera ku culture yako. Ndisu tiri kunzi tiri pa number 1. Nemosha ye culture yedu yatinayo, and we still value that, which we are failing to pass on ku vana venyu. Nokuti vana venyu vachashaya this. I don't know in the next years dzinouya idzi kuchange tichiripo pa number 1. Tiripo pa number 1 nokuti varipo vakateerera culture yavo, they still uphold the culture, and takatwa list as number 1. Tiripo pa ma beauties as well as number 1. And participo manje ndatarisa 353 or so researches dzakaitwa handirambopa koda pa loyalty. Hanza musi loyal ati muripo regai tione ndangotora zvidimbu kwaupesera. Dhino iri kuuya iyi yakaitwa nevanonzi Africa is Watching, inonzi Nancheki. Yakaisa Zimbabwe is number 1 for its own thing. Oh, sorry, I need to take it first. Let me open it first. Let me share the window. So yeah, the top 10 best African countries to find a wife. So I'll play this one down. Don't pa number 1. So I know talking about number 10, but they are talking about Zimbabwe.
Number 1.
Number 1.
Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is a landlocked country in the south of Africa. The country is predominantly Christian with a small Muslim community. Women represent a high population of 52.3%. The country has made significant inroads in promoting gender equality through measures and policies that ensure equal and equitability access, control, and ownership of resources between women and men. The country is also making a stride to increase female political representation. Zimbabwean women are known to be very strong, driven, and family-oriented. They thrive in business and in the work despite the many challenges they face. Did you enjoy the video?
So Canada, Zimbabwe, that's for you there about Zimbabwe is the woman that you are looking for.
I was your presenter of the day,
so
Gire, and you can find
I'll
me on
leave
Instagram
that one
and on YouTube at Kiri.han Voice Talents.
Hold on, I will
Thank
go
you
back.
so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and ring the notification bell so that you don't miss any of our African videos.
Okay. Ndama ndaenda pane imwe futi ndichiti ndinotarisa futi ndikaona futi Zimbabwe yakaiswa futi pa number 1. Yakaiswa futi pa number 1 is the country yekuwana. Hands 10 African countries to find a wife. Saka handizivi kuti why tisina.
For that, let us get this video started. Zimbabwe is a country blessed with natural landscape beauty in terms of lakes, rivers, and the safari. And when we talk beauty, women are also in no exception because Zimbabwe has some of the most beautiful women on the African continent.
Amen.
The average Zimbabwean woman is educated at least to the college level and is also able to afford the basics of life. Rwanda. Without a doubt, Rwanda is a country with a very rich traditional culture.
Ndaenda ku 3 sites ndatozoregedza zvangu ndaona tinga ndatora dzakawanda. Vese koko ku Zimbabwe iringo feature ipapo kunzi kuda kutsvaga mukadzi. Saka tasa kuti hunhu hwedu
dictatorial past, you wouldn't think Zimbabwe would make the list. But these are some of the beautiful women you will ever find in Africa. Known for their natural beauty and understanding of intellectual matters, they are very brave and are not afraid to take on challenges. Thank you very much for watching this video. We hope you have learned something about
Zimbabwe. There was number 1 again. The other time it was number 10. Saka turikupo andida kupedza time. ndataridza mavideos ava ndichida kuti tizive kuti tiite remind each other kuti musarambe muchiita shani your culture or even your language. Some people vari kuilifta flag for us kuratidza kuti vatiriminde kuti we have something beautiful going there. Imi ndo pamusingadi muchitaura kuti vana venyu mabritish. Ndadzokera kune vana vechibritish. Mabritish vanotaura english chete, but english haisi yaibritish ka. English is for the english vari muengland. Macocationi ndo vanoclaima english selanguage yavo, then vamwe vese we adopt it, but tine malanguages edu. English is for the english vanova vachena, not for british yamunotaura iyo. British is also mune malanguages welsh, mune malanguages scottish, mascots, mune language the northern ireland irish, imomo british flag. Then wozosangana nedzenyu naturalized, born here, from born here, munosangana imomo ndo mamunosangana munonzi ndakapulaga the wrong one. Mosangana muenglish macho imomo mubritish flag. Saka mubva maziva nhasi zvenyu zvokuti british haishandi bawi, haina basa iya. Ivaine flag yenyu muchiflyawo. Ndakuona zimbabwe flag ichiflya mubritish muunion jack. Haikona kupindamo muri naked moda unovharwa neunion jack. Pindaimo makapfeka. Mongo unozonowedzera iro kuisa pamusoro kana muri kutonorwa. Haikona kuti mopinda venyu vana venyu muri kuti iya mabrinyo akazvarwa muno kutodada nazvo. Vari kupinda vari naked in the union jack. Havana chavanacho vonotora union jack. Chii chavari kutora muunion jack? Muunion jack vachanotora macultures arimo enyika dzirimo, nokuti union jack inota british flag here. Munozviona even pabuckingham palace vane flag yavo. Ivo maenglish vane flag yavo yewhite iya yamunoona iya. Saka sei vasingangoflya iyoyo yenyu yamunoflya imimi muchiflya iko kaya red white and pane black here zviya paunion jack. Handiyanazoziva, but anyway vanoflya that. Imimi ivanoflya both 3-2 kuratidza kuti they are in this union, but at the same time they are an entity. Imi muri kuflya chii mubritish flag? Ndokuramba ndichikutaura izvozvo. Hamudi kutaura shona, hamudi kutaura english. Anokutaura english anonzwa. No, afana kunzwa english achitaura shona or ndebele or kalanga. Haikona kutaura kuti anonzwa. Hadi zvakanopindwa nechirungu ende mosekerera muripo you think it's nice. No, it's no. Ndogara ndokutoramba nchikunjitra izvo down izvozvo, because of british flag yamunoflya. Pindai muchiflya nenyu. Always have the two in there. Hatisi kuramba kuti vananyu varegedza kutaura chirungu vaite zviti vaite assimilate. No, but kana vachitaura ngavauye nezvavo, because they are nothing, they are empty. They are half empty, those kids. Vanyu vanotaura chirungu chete. Vana venyu vasingato understand culture yenyu kuti kunoomberwa makadi mamukasei mama. And when you sit down, when you've done something wrong, you sit down and show contrite. Haikona kuti mwana anobva kuti nei akatomirawo, nokuti kune tsika dzimwe dzokuwest munhu agari pasi ari mwana kana ari kutaurwa naye, it's a sign of disrespect. Mwana unyauya nezvezvo zvokuwest africa kana kunaija anouya achisunga baba wake havasi munaija mese muri both mazimbabweans, because kuNigeria standing up talking to an elder uchitwa chasise ndo zvazvinoitwa. Kwedu kumusha zvonzi hautaridze nhongonya. Mwana needs to know the difference. Mwana anouya anobva amira pachitaura nemi, imi mototaura naye akamira. He should not do that in our culture. Kana ari kuziva culture yemimai vacho mudziva culture muzati mwana afanira kugara pasi, haafanira kutakusa nhongonya yemukuru kana ari kuitwa discipline. Kana musingadzive zvinhu zvakadaro mwana andzidza sei? Then mwana uyu pick all these cultures anosangana nadzo, anotifunga kuti is the right thing, because angachitamba nemo kugana anobva aita zvokugana. Anoenda zvaita zvokugana nokuti anoenda kumba kwacho achinotamba achiona zvinoitwa. They pick the mannerism, they pick everything from there. Kwenyu kumba hakuna chinopikwa, kunopikwa zvechirungu. Wauya pana panhinge apa wakusvikotitaura nezvokuti mwana wangu anditi f this f that. Anotambawo nemurungu, anoenda kumba kunotaurwa f so for freely patangi. Mwana anoya akutedzerwa izvozvo f this b this. Ndakakwira this Irish girl. Ma-Irish anenge maboy ka. So akaenda nemwana akanga achekwa. Mwana akachekwa neplate yakatsemuka, mbva mwana ada kunhonga plate yanga achidyira. Ka 2-year-old, but kari very sharp. Kanotaura kunge ka 5 years chako, kana even 7 years. kakapinda motikari kachimhanya kakapinda user 2 years chakapfeka morning gown unotanga swera ari kuhospital kwawaswera achinzi aitwe operation akutomazi aitwe akanzi anorariswa kuti asonwe but akazongobuda asina kusonwa mwana wayo but I don't think vaimboda kusona but necomment yakakapa kamwanaka kune sister kune senior lady anga achiita look after her ndo yakaita kuti I think vazogariswa even more ndakamuudza because they wanted to see the reaction your action between your child and you. So mwana mudiki akadana 2 years anotaura be word to this old woman and the woman didn't take it lightly. Akati where is she learning all this? Zvikanzi nemusikana wekumba kwedu isataure izvi but I don't know kuti azvidzisa kuti. But you see vana, what I'm trying to say kuti vana vanopika whatever they pick kwavanoenda. Saka vana venyu kana vachienda ivo kwavo there's really nothing of substance. Let's say is to tsika mumba mumhuri dzamunodzidzisa mwana. So ifanira kuti mwana kana aenda kwaanonotamba anopika zveko mai vanomuchengeta kwamainda kana vari mujoma mwana wenyu anouya achiita zvechijamaican chazvo mumba kwese kwaenda. So mwana wenyu has got all bits and pieces of everything. Whilst you are proudly standing up and saying mubrinyo akazomira akadai muchi, you know, mwana wenyu ngaave nesomething chaanobelonga in and compare it with others. Unikachitaura kuti isusu kwedu we don't do that. Mwana wako can't even say that because imimi wacho mumba menyu you don't even know what you are teaching that child. Nokuti imimi you speak English, you dream English, you eat English and you whatever like baba. So munoita zvechirungu zvamunobatira padenga kana maita zvechirungu chinatsoendai monota research monzwa kuti culture chino yakamira sei monatsopa a nice grounded culture kumwana wenyu dzimozononga not kuti ave ne half baked cultures of all everything that is him and muchiconfuse mwana yet munozoti vana vari confused. Vana vari confused because we have made the confusion, we have created the confusion. It's just my parents. On a note yekuti we are in the diaspora and lived for years. It's a personal choice yekuti munhu afunge kudzokera kumusha or someone amva asvibiswa moyo nekumusha. Yes, I can understand where you're coming from. Nekuti zveshuwa is disappointing kana ukaenda koya target and all the other things. You always prefer kuzogara kuno kungoti inini tave kuno. Yes, it's a personal choice and it's your personal choice, but pane avo vanenge vazofunga kuti tava kudzokera kumusha, and those who were listening to that Cameroonian achitaura nezvekudzokera kumusha, it's nice for us to come together and work together to improve and also make our communities better. Yes, we might not do it alone and achieve, but iye angataura nyaya even yemvura. I know kumusha kwedu isusu takabatsirwa nemabowl akamboiswa during UNICEF or something. So taisimbocherawo mvura murwizi, and kana mvura yakunopera the water is dirty nokuti mese nema-animals tainwa musemimo. Saka taiita inonzi mufuku. Saka nosvika wosvikofukura pasaidi ndo yatazesa yekunwa. Yekuwacha nokudi tocherawo patu kumwa nemombe, but yekunwa taizoti manje tochera mufuku, but mufuku unoziva unoita kusinina slowly and for you kuti uzadze even bucket yekuti munomwa mvura yacho kumba ine une a certain smell inenge chitwa derived mumvura yepaside yacho, because mufuku unosherwa. Vanoziva mufuku munoshera munofukura paside pe the river so that you can get a filtered water into that. Inenge chinzi iri kufilter through the haisisiri the muddy one you are getting from there muri kunwa mombe. Saka the filtered version haibude zvokumhanya ende munotoswera muripo uchimira kuti kakasina maenda nekamukombe nemukombe unodai nemukombe muchichera muchisamu ende haimwike chinhu. Inini zvakaita ndisamwe mvura for a very long time. Ini mvura ndaimwira mutea or something, but kunwa plain water kubata bhodhoro yekumvura it took me forever to ndakatotanga kumwa mvura. I can say kutanga kumwa mvura chako kuti ndinomwa mvura ndakatanga about maybe 15 years ago. Asi ndakanga ndatongojaira kuti handimwe mvura yangu ndoimwira mubhiya ndoimwira mutea, ende nokuti ndakarohwa moyo nemvura yekumusha usha kuti oinwa sei yakanga isisiko, but takamba tazouya tikaiswa maboho. So it's other things zvokuti you know what, magara muno mane matools acho, use those tools to improve villages atikabva. Kana kusina zvemvura kwakuita kuona kuti vanoisa zvibohoro vanoisa sei zvibohoro. How can we have finance yekuti tiisire mabohoro vanhu vamwe? Mvura is a right for everybody. I think it's a given right, it's a human right munhu kuti awane mvura yakanaka, but hatidziwane. Mamunzwa kuti hati uyo kana clinic, you know, clinic 1 and poverty, and they agree and unatobvuma kuti kwatinobva isusu kwedu kuri poor, poverty is something else, and vanhu vanotambura. What can we do together as vanhu vari kunze? And I'm happy for that sister kuti ane vamwe vari mucommunity vake who wants to go back to the same place, try and improve it for others. Ngatidzidze izvozvo. Ndotsika maona hanzi maZimbabweans mamuchitaurwa apa kuti muri vanhu vakaita sei, and that guy ataura nezvekuti tiri unified. That's what was presented to him when he was there. He saw a unified community, which is something chiri kuleka mazuano kuti hatisisina that, and it's so sad that we've destroyed that union. But he akaona unified people who came together for everything, who unified in everything, and we should start that and start unifying ourselves. Ngatiteka unity kako kuti we work together instead yekuti tingonzwa maripoti ekuitirana utsinye and so forth. You gain nothing in some of the things amunoita. Result yacho haina, reaction yedu to some things inondwadza chaizvo moyo. But I hope we are learning, and I hope we will be better people, even better than this guy what he saw. Meno kuti muri kundinzwa here uku. I think muri kundinzwa. Tosangana Sunday. I hope I will manage this Sunday to be there. Nokuti pakati pesvondo pari easier ndinosenza late, but Sunday ndinechimboenda masikati neprogram yandinayo. I'm trying to work all other hours given to me by God. Chero ndakasimbirira mbichana. So pamwe I will try this Sunday kuuya, and we'll just do the 1 hour and I leave. I won't stay longer than that as usual. I'll try to make sure kuti tauya musession. Kana pane vanoda macomments section, taurai mutumiro muchitudza advice. Vanoda kutaura feedback, you have got our channels pa Facebook kana pa Zimbabwe diaspora papa. Go and send us your comments or even feedback yamunofunga kuti inobatsira community yedu yekuno kudiaspora. Ndoda kukutendai nokunditerera vauya kuzombotandara. Thank you so much. Ndinongoti ngatitaure nevamwe, ngatibatane pamwe chete. Maona how isu madzimai ekuZimbabwe we topped number 1 on everything. Kuti kana munhu achida mukadzi mhosva yeunhu hwedu, and how resilient we are, hard working we are known as hard workers, and vakadzi vaya vanomira pavanenge vakamira. So it's really nice to hear somebody praising us. It's most of the time maybe atimbozvifungira kuti we are like that, but hey, 3, 4 won't hip loyalty. We need to change that. Looks like we are not loyal. I tried to look around, I couldn't find anyone. So on a closing note is I'm so sad that our sons didn't feature in everything. Even Pogunzi, a husband, do you know if we were beaten by Nigeria? I mean, beaten by Nigeria. But you know what? Not even one channel and on Zimbabweans, varipo, vari kunzi munhu achida kutsvaga husband aenda kuZimbabwe. I tried even for handsomeness, tashaya, but I know we've got beautiful people there. I have 3 sons, and I think I feel they are handsome enough. So for us not to even make the list, not even list one, evana venhu vechikomana, handina kupanguisisawo ipapo. Ndapashayawo kuti shuwa pashaya kana akativhoterawo kuti tine varume kwavo kumusha uku vekuZimbabwe, uyezve vana vedu vakomana vakanakawo chokwadi. Kushaya kana ndaenda pa3 of them, were beaten by Uganda, Rwanda featured on all, Ethiopia, Somalia, pese papa feature vesa vaZambia, kuvakadzi veloyalty, Kenya, Uganda, Swaziland, all the things. Isusu we didn't feature pa loyalty, but we featured pa kunzi kuwana mkadzi ukuthi ukurora. We featured also there. Ne beautifulness, vakadzi vakanaka kuZimbabwe, we featured also there. But loyalty tafoira. But vana vedu vechikomana, not even one yandaida yambotiso nyango pa number 10. Tatadza kana feature. Remember Africa in 53 countries. But I know I raised boys, I raised my sons, and I think they are good husband material and also handsome. Of course, I'm a mother to them. So yes, ndokusiyira ipapo kuti aiwa musazoora zvenyu mwoyo. Vakomana vedu ava vakanaka fani vanakomana ava, and we are teaching them handiti kuti vave good husbands, because muchaziva imwe video inomboteerera payapastor veku-SDA I think, where he talks about yakatendera sere pafacebook kuti vanasikana they are making inroads in life, in everywhere, be it in companies and what, vanakomana vachisara nokuti pairarwa mwanasikana chete, vakomana we didn't put an effort into them. But inini nokuti handina mwana musikana, so my efforts for raising mwana musikana wandisina ndakaputa into my boys. So I think hanzi vanakomana tikuvasiya in kuvadzidzisa how to be men out there, not even a husband. They have to be men first to know that who they are as a man before they can be even a husband or a father. Saka hanzi pari kusarira panzeti chinzvimbo chedu here isusu. For single mothers it's nzvimbo yako yokuve mai nababa pamwanakomana, but kune vana baba mudzimba we expect kuti vana baba vaite take care of that, whilst mai vachitsinhira kubatsira baba kuti mwana uyu ave a man as well as a husband and a father in the future. Because vana ava they are just boys, vamwe vacho it will never change, then vamwe they haven't learned anything. Saka mukupa basa kumwanasikana akarayirwa kuti ave nefirst born mwanakomana murume wake, ive first born yake kutotanga kudzidzisa mumba, that's too much work. Itai basa renyu vana baba mudzimba umu kana murimo. Vana mai musasiye mwanakomana kana aripo, ngaadzidzewo pari kudzidziswa mwanasikana, nokuti mwanasikana ari kudzidziswa kuve mukadzi at the same time kuzova wife and mother. Imi whilst tiri kusiya vanakomana kuti vadzidziswe kuva vana murume, then wozova baba nokuva baba kumudzimai, baba kuvana, and then they come in. Vakadzi vazhinji vanowana vandokwidza vanoti I have got 5 children. Not wow, that's the ones. I've got 4 boys, you know. I never had a girl, but I've got 5, including my husband. He's still my child. Bye guys, I love you and I'll leave you, and I'll pray that the blood of Jesus is upon each and every one of you guys. My numbers COVID aramba chikwira, even my dates. Let's be cautious. Let's wear our masks all the time. Musatedzere zvokunzi hanzi mamask akanzi naBoris ezvino Boris has come back nokutaura kuti they are going to change, to try to put a few restrictions up to midnight now. Vakuda kuti vavhure zvinhu hazvichaitwa zvazvaita, so they are withdrawing a little bit because the scientists are a bit wary coming of winter. So guys, ngatizvichengetedzei, ishe vachizokuchengetawo. Haikona kuti nokuti haiwa inini namakristu, the Lord is looking after me, haungamiri pamberi peshumba hanzi inokudya. So you need to help also by being a good child of God. Woteererawo mitemo, vanoti even teerera mitemo yemashe enyu anokutonga epano. That's the same thing. How can you be listening to me usingalisten munhu ari padhuze newaunoona? So ndizvo zvamunobvunzwa futi nzi unondida inini asi haudi munhu waunaye waunotarisa, woda ini wausina kumboona. Tanga wada iye nokuti iye munhu ndini. Saka at the same time ngatiteerere mitemo, ngatipfekei mamask edu all the time. Musapinde mubhazi muchigara mutedzera vanenge vakaisa pasi pechina. Also the right way to wear mask. It's only for a short distance. Wobvisa ngashandisei sanitizer. This thing is there. Kwane new strain inongoramba ichiuya, so the moment isati yaita die it needs work, it will start again. So I think I did that. So please take care of yourself and take care of your children, and be very careful everything that they do. Touching of surfaces, ngavaite sanitize. So I'll leave you for now, and I'll say see you on Sunday.